a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, 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 and welcome to the first Dr. Kevin show of 2023. We survived 2020. We just survived 2021. We survived 2022. And now 2023 is going to do its best to see if it can knock us out. No, I'm sorry. To be the best year ever. That's the attitude here on the Dr. Kevin show. 2023 is going to be the year where the circus came to town and set up permanent residence in Washington, D.C. Anyways, so I want to welcome you to the first show of the year. Remember, this is a live call-in show. That's 202-570-7057, 202-570-7057. This as the first Dr. Kevin show of the year and of the month. We have, who has been absent, we missed our December window with Matt, so we haven't talked to Matt since before the elections. We were talking to Matt before the election, and that is none other than Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unhinged, Unleashed, Rabid Dog. I don't know. We've called him several things through the years, but not nearly as many as he's called himself. You can listen to Matt at,
my favorite is Uncircumcised.
Oh, well, there's a piece of information that I never needed to know. And I have no way to personally verify if it's true or not.
Right.
We'll keep it that way, Matt.
Fair enough.
So, there we go. But anyways, Matt Connarton is on 4 to 6 Monday through Friday, WMNH, and you can go to mattconarton.com and listen to the show there, or go to 95.3 if you are in the Manchester, New Hampshire area. Either way, you can weigh in, call in, and you can sword fight with Matt Connarton Uncircumcised.
Oh my goodness! Well,
well, hey, you brought it up, not me.
Oh. I didn't bring up the sword fighting. That's for my other show, Matt Connarton Unsheathed.
Oh, I thought it was that was from Matt Connarton After Dark.
Oh, well, same idea. But that one is not carried on WMNH. That is strictly behind a paywall.
Mm-hmm. Well. Mm-hmm. So if I come on it, do I get paid?
No.
No.
No, we don't compensate our guests. Yeah, no. No.
But it's behind a paywall. What do you do with all those riches?
Well, I can't discuss that on the air. The IRS might be listening.
Yeah. So, anyways, again, 202-570-7057, and Matt and I are going to jump into politics. Matt, as the scene closes on the last Dr. Kevin and Matt show here at OMTimes, you were predicting a dastardly defeat for all of democracy and Democrats because they were idiots and fools. Would you like to update that story?
Oh, yeah. Well, obviously, Democrats did much better than I expected in the midterms, and I would even go so far as to acknowledge that I may have been somewhat, well, you know, I was very critical of the Democrats, their strategy of propping up these crazy QAnon candidates on the Republican side, you know, assuming that they would be easier to beat in the general election. I still don't think it's really particularly ethical to be doing that. But from a strategic standpoint, it's hard to argue with success. So I was probably, I mean, I still think it's a risky thing to do, but apparently the risk was much lower than I had expected. So, you know, Democrats did much better than I expected in the midterms. And it's So that was a surprise. I mean, now we have something else that's ruining our democracy. But the democracy did not fall in the midterms, and in fact, a lot of the Republican candidates, including right here in New Hampshire, our very own Don Bolduc, who on some days was an election denier when it was convenient for him. Those candidates didn't do very well. So, and there seemed to be a rejection of that. So democracy remains somewhat intact, if not partially paralyzed at the moment for some other reasons. But it remains intact at least.
Well, we'll dig into the constipation of Congress in just a minute.
Yes.
At least one side of Congress. The other side of Congress seems to be doing okay.
Yeah, they seem to be having a good time, actually.
Yeah, well, it's better than having the Comedy Channel. They got a front row seat for what is going to be horribly embarrassing for everybody in the GOP. But I want to know. So, well, let's start there. The last thing I saw was they were going in for a 10th vote. I did not see a conclusion when I checked. Do you know if the 10th vote went any better for Kevin McCarthy than the first 9? Or is it still voting right now? Do you know?
I think they might still be voting. When I was getting off the air, let's see. Actually, I'm looking now at House Speaker election. Okay, McCarthy detractors unmoved on historic 10th ballot. So, yeah, still, he keeps coming up at 200. I mean, he's actually going the wrong direction because for a while, at least he was at 201. I know on the 9th vote and the 10th vote, he was at 200. He might have been on the 8th vote. Let's see. Yeah. 200 votes for McCarthy, 20 Republicans voting for another candidate, and 1 still voting present. I assume the 1 voting present is still Victoria Sparks. I think she's from Indiana. So, there's a lot of talk about progress. They're making progress on these negotiations, but it doesn't show up in these votes, whatever this alleged progress is.
No, and from the sounds of it, correct me if I'm wrong, they're trying to basically humiliate him into being almost a completely castrated Speaker of the House. Yeah.
I mean, it won't be worth anything. The speakership isn't going to be worth anything. When he'll be Speaker in name only at this point. I mean, and every time I think there's nothing else he can possibly give away, it turns out maybe there is, but he'll be powerless. It's incredible. I mean, watching this man, I think he's he's really shown himself to be what Jesse Lee Peterson would call a beta. Watching this man just willingly give up all of his dignity, if he ever had any. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible to watch this. I take no, I don't feel sorry for the guy at all. I think he's a bad guy. So I do take some joy in watching his public humiliation. I don't take joy in what's happening in a broader sense because it's bad. This is bad for the country. So, I addressed this on my show the other day. Somebody on social media said, Matt seems to be enjoying this. And I said on my show, enjoying is not the right word. I do enjoy the public humiliation of Kevin McCarthy, and I'm fascinated by all of this as a political junkie. It's remarkable to watch it and to get to comment on it every day on the air. But I wouldn't say I enjoy this overall because I have a strong sense of dread actually attached to it all. I'm enjoying it the same way one enjoys looking at a car wreck. You don't really enjoy it because you don't like the idea that someone was harmed in the car wreck, but you're still going to look because it's still interesting,
It's called Sheriff Roden.
Yes.
Yes. A word that only exists in German and nowhere else.
Right.
And it figures. So for listeners who don't know what that means, that's finding joy in the misery of others. Is what Sheriff Roden means. And if there was ever an opportunity for Sheriff Roden, it's this Speaker of the House election.
Oh yes.
But the thing is he's starting, or has. And you follow this stuff closer than I do, which is why I have you on once a month, because you can fill me in on the things that I might have missed along the way. But they're not, the 20 are not all hardliners anymore. He's starting to get some of the centrists who are like, that are getting really upset that these people who do not deserve what they're demanding in order to vote for him are going to be getting lead committees and all of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And now he's kicking off a whole nother group that he'll get those 20 and lose 50 more. I mean, I just don't see this ending well for him.
No, I eventually he's going to have to withdraw. And I think that the dark horse in all of this is Steve Scalise. He is much more well-liked and well-respected. That is not to say that the 20 that are currently voting against McCarthy are all going to get on board with Steve Scalise, but I think that they would take some solace in feeling like they achieved a victory in just defeating McCarthy. So I think some of them will get on board with Scalise, and they certainly have a lot more respect for him. And I think he'll end up being the guy. But the thing is, he is publicly supported and, of course, voted for Kevin McCarthy. And so it's not something that he can initiate. He has to wait for it to happen to him. He has to wait for it to come to him. He has to wait for some Republican to say, hey, do you want the gig? I'll nominate you, and maybe we can get everybody to vote for you, and you can get to 218. Because it's not going to be McCarthy. I mean, this thing is just stuck in the mud. He's not getting anywhere, and I think they're probably leading him on with these ongoing negotiations where they talk about progress, but it doesn't show up in the voting. I think they're just enjoying slowly torturing him to death.
So now, I think it was Jim Jordan at one point that tried to nominate Trump to be Speaker of the House.
That was Matt Gaetz.
Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, he nominated Trump.
I confuse all those Warner Brother cartoon characters.
Yeah.
But let's say this Steve, is he going to honor putting all of these people like Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Gangrene in lead positions, knowing that they're nutcases? I mean, I don't know a lot about Steve Scalise. I mean, he's from Louisiana, I'm pretty sure. I think that's the extent. Are they going to? Is he going to support the nutcases? What do you think? Is he going to give Jim Jordan and the rest of the nutcases enough power to make this a year and a half of millions of dollars of waste, trying to humiliate the Democrats, and probably not coming up with much, if anything?
That's a good question. I think he's a stronger personality. I think he's probably more mature in some ways than Kevin McCarthy. I would like to think that Steve Scalise, had he been leader in the House leader of the Republicans when the insurrection was happening, that he would not have then afterward gone to visit Trump at Mar-a-Lago. But yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I don't know. I don't know exactly what it looks like. I just think that he's probably more acceptable. I mean, he's every bit of acceptable, if not more so, to the larger Republican caucus. But, I think he can peel off enough of those 20, enough, just enough maybe to, with some sort of inducements to get them to support him.
So there have been little quiet rumors that don't have much substance, but that there could be a power play where either Cheney or even somebody mentioned Kingser, Adam King, I'm not going to pronounce
Kinzinger.
it correct. Kinzinger. That if either one of those were put up, they could grab enough Republicans and the Democrats would support them.
Yeah, there's a number of scenarios that are tantalizing. All of them probably unlikely, but then again, at some point, something's got to give, something's got to break. So there could be something like that, some sort of a coalition. Now we're hearing this phrase a lot, coalition government, where, they can get some of the Democrats to support a candidate and make a bit of a compromise. I mean, right now, the Democrats aren't compromising on anything. That's the thing. Throughout this, they have been solid. Every single vote, all 10 of them, the vote count for Hakeem Jeffries, who will be the House Minority Leader in the new term, has been 212. Actually, he's been the highest vote getter in every vote too, but it's always 212. So they have not shown. There have been a couple of signals, but they've not shown so far in the voting any interest in compromising, or throwing the Republicans a lifeline. But it may come to that eventually. Maybe the Democrats can get something. But the thing is, I mean, it's not gonna be for Kevin McCarthy, because Kevin McCarthy he's already made all these deals with the 20 Never Kevin crowd that now he's going to start making deals on top of that with the Democrats. So it would have to be somebody, maybe somebody from the outside like Adam Kinzinger or Fred Upton, who just retired but is well-liked, or even Paul Ryan, or just, somebody, because it doesn't have to be a member of the House. It can, in theory, it can be anybody.
Yep. Well, and we'll be right back to discuss all of the peace, love, joy, and harmony going on in D.C. with none other than Matt Connarton here on the Dr. Kevin Show.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
You came across someone struggling with hunger. How would you recognize them? Would you notice an 8-year-old girl who's not excited for summer break
because she may not be having lunch again until September?
Or a war veteran who's having a hard time landing a job
and getting back on his feet?
I am the 1 in 8 Americans who struggle with hunger. I am hunger in America.
Hunger can be hard to recognize. Learn why at IamHungerInAmerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. And as always, on the first Thursday of the month, we have none other than Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed. You can listen to Matt 4 to 6 Monday through Friday on WMNH 95.3 if you're in the Manchester, New Hampshire area, or you could go to mattconnerton.com and you can be on the computer and watching it and weighing in and, finding out all the great secrets about Matt. If you'd like to be part of this conversation, you may do so by calling in at 202-570-7057. This is the week where it is our week of politics. 1 week a month, we talk about the politics and what's going on in the world. So I'm just going to ask you the dream question. Who would you like to see be the Speaker of the House? If you could actually wave a wand. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I'd like to see them, I'd like to see the Republicans cut a deal with the Democrats and make Hakeem Jeffries Speaker, but maybe with certain concessions for the Republicans. I think that would be amazing.
Well, I'm wondering at some point, because the split in the Republican Party between the moderates and anybody that's left that could even be considered anywhere near liberal Republican, have really had it with the nutcases. And it's just that they're going to have to do something. And if somebody gets elected to Speaker of the House and you put MTG as the head of a committee that creates the rules of how to bring laws in, which is on the discussions and stuff like this. I mean, they've been very clear. They want to tear down democracy and basically create a kind of close to a theocracy, really, under the guise of democracy. And I think that they scare the shit out of enough people that there's got to be some of these people that are talking to the Democrats behind closed doors. There's got to be people that are talking to them. I can't imagine that somebody isn't trying to find a way forward. But
I think for these Republicans, it's not even for the Never Keviners. I don't think it's even that they want to tear down democracy so much as they're trying to build their own brands. They're trying to. They have these public persona of being these, insurrectionists in a way, but, being rebels and being anti-establishment, and it seems to work for them with their base. And I think that's what a lot of this is. They're trolling. I mean, why else would Matt Gaetz decide to stand up and nominate Trump? If not for the theater of it. He's interested in the performance. He's not interested in governing. But I don't think he necessarily wants to tear down the government either. I think he just wants to get social media clicks and media coverage. He wants to be a star, and I think that's what's really going on here.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, a star is just something that is burning out that's full of hot air. So he qualifies.
Yeah.
So we can leave this topic and move on to, do you think that Jack is going to get anything done?
Oh, Jack, the special counsel, I forgot his last name now. Oh, what the hell is his name? Jack.
Yeah, the special prosecutor.
Did you forget his last name too?
I did. That's why I said Jack, because I couldn't remember what his last name was.
I'm looking it up now. Yeah, I'm embarrassed that I can't remember, but it's like I've been so wrapped up in Jack Smith. Oh, that's why. Because he's got the most generic last name. Yeah, I don't know. Probably. He seems like a serious guy. I've been so wrapped up in the House Speaker's race, I haven't paid any attention. I guess there is some news here that he's getting to work. He's back from The Hague, and he's really diving in with these Trump investigations. Yeah, I think he's going to get something done. I do. I don't know if it's going to lead to a Trump indictment, but I think it's very possible.
Well, because he just subpoenaed a whole lot more stuff, and he's taking stuff in. And the thing is, he is intentionally, I feel like he's intentionally trying to stay as far out of the public eye as possible.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. He's working behind the scenes, and whenever he decides that he's going to strike, it's going to be like a rattlesnake in the desert. You're not going to see him coming, and he's just going to go.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, there are other people here besides Trump that could be getting indicted.
Oh, yeah.
It's, you know, and I don't know. I mean, we're talking, some of these 20 people that we're talking about could be on that list.
That is true. Like Jim Jordan, he seemed very nervous at one point.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be a reason.
Of course, yeah. Well, and you know, as more of these texts are surfacing, and more of the timeline is coming in, I mean, I suspect that this is a guy that, from everything I can find out, which is what's general knowledge, but he's a real cross your T's, dot your I's. He's not going to go forward with a case unless he's really got what he needs. It's
right.
My impression of him. Like,
yeah.
He's not going to go in half-cocked and try to make it up as he goes along.
Right. Yeah, he's a serious guy.
The fun thing will be, will we see Ginny on the stand?
Oh. Yeah, Ginny Thomas is, wow. She's so smug, too. I still can't believe that, we'll see what else comes before the Supreme Court, but, you know, I hope Justice Thomas begins to recuse himself from anything having to do with January 6th. That if anything else goes to the Supreme Court, because obviously his wife was involved in the coup. I mean, you know, she wasn't storming the Capitol, but she was actively trying to subvert the election. So, yeah, she definitely, she should be on the stand. She should testify.
Now, you may know this because you track this stuff better than I do. You're my fountain of knowledge, so you better have your facts straight, boy. Is because I want to know, if you're not sure about something, I have to go, well, and Matt Connarton said, but if you're sure about something, then I can claim ownership of it.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You know how that works, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, can the other Supreme Court justices force him to recuse? Is there a way where they...
I don't believe so. I don't think there is any, to my knowledge, there is no mechanism to do that. Obviously, Chief Justice John Roberts could have a conversation with him and suggest it, but I don't think anyone, there's no authority. I don't think there's any particular law that applies to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has so much autonomy that, no, I don't think there's any possible way to force him to do that. There's no ethics board to review the Supreme Court. There's nothing. So no one can, as far as I'm aware, no one can force him or compel him in any way to do that, unfortunately.
Now, it is possible to impeach a Supreme Court justice.
Yes,
I've heard
that is possible. I don't think it's been done it has been done in history. I don't think it's been done in, probably more than 100 years, but it can be done. Yes.
Well, let's put it this way. There's a lot of things happening these days that haven't happened in 100 years, right? We can always hope for one more.
That's true. But the Democrats would have to have complete control over everything in order to be able to even approach that, you know. I mean, they tried to impeach Trump twice and they couldn't remove him. They impeached him, but they couldn't remove him. So it's pretty unlikely. Yeah, so I don't think that'll be happening. I honestly, I don't think he will recuse himself. I don't think he has the integrity to do so, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think that he will. And unfortunately, I don't think there will be any consequence for him not doing so.
Only one Supreme Court justice has ever been impeached, and he was acquitted by the Senate, and it was in 1805. Justice Samuel Chase.
1805. That goes back a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the Senate acquitted him.
Okay.
So
he wasn't even removed.
No. The House impeached him. I didn't dig too much into it. It talked about inconsistent and erratic behavior on the bench was what they were charging him with. But I'm sure there was more to it than that. I just was curious.
Yeah.
Inquiring minds wanted to know. Now you have a fact you can share on your show.
Yes.
Give me credit for a change. Instead of me saying, and Matt Connarton said.
Right.
Kevin said, right. You know, hey, it's got to go both ways, baby. So tell me, what have been your thoughts on Santos? Don't tell me this hasn't been discussed.
Well, it had. Well, I will be honest with you. We haven't really talked about him much on the show. This week has been we've been so consumed with the House. But my thoughts on Santos are, in a different time, he would have been immediately expelled from. I mean, he wouldn't even gotten as far as being sworn in. Well, actually, no one's been sworn in yet because of the paralysis over the speaker. So, but he wouldn't even be. I mean, in a different time, and by a different time, I mean probably even 10 years ago. You know, there would have been so much outrage, and he would have been condemned by his own party for all of this. I mean, because he did more than just, you know, it's one thing to embellish, you know, you embellish a resume, puffery, I've heard it referred to. You know, they say everyone does that to some degree. This guy it's like he invented a whole other person. Like he just made up this other guy. And he lies so easily. He's probably a pathological liar. I think in another time, this would not have been tolerated. But in today's Republican Party, it's like, you know, they excuse it, you know. Oh, well, it's who the voters chose. It's amazing.
It's just Trump in a dress.
Yeah, but even Trump, I mean, this guy, it's like, wow. I mean, he just makes up everything. The facts that are easily verifiable. It's amazing. Yeah. But that's why I'm saying it's probably pathological. He, I suspect, either doesn't even know in the moment that he's lying or can't control himself or whatever's going on with him. Because this is not a normal person.
No. This is somebody that's got a mental illness of some kind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, and that's really scary that his party is not holding him accountable to the fact that they really don't want him there. But, you know, I mean, and now he's being pursued for stealing checks and cashing them in fraud, and a case is being opened. And but with all of this going on, he has been voting for McCarthy. So if he suddenly resigns or he gets dragged away because he's you know, incarcerated or whatever, and this vote's not done, that's one more vote that McCarthy just lost.
True.
Because he's been voting for Kevin. I'm just like,
Yeah.
So of course, Kevin's not going to try to do anything. So did you hear the thing where I think it was Matt Gaetz complained because Kevin moved into the speaker's office and he wanted to know how long before he was removed for not trespassing, but what was the word he used? Basically squatting in the speakers. Yeah.
Yeah, because McCarthy's already moved his stuff in. He's already measured the drapes, as they say.
Yeah. And Gaetz is going after him and demanding that he gets that the stuff gets taken out. I mean, oh my God, how more this is middle school stuff. This is, it's funny, but it's scary. I mean, they're just going to waste millions and millions of dollars for the next 2 years through childish stunts, social media, obsessions, addictions, and bringing up false. There's nothing that's going to get done out of the House of Representatives unless something shifts, which is why they need to have a speaker that's not going to let anybody who is a nutcase have any power. I mean, the nutcases are pretty identifiable. I mean, it's not like they're hiding. I mean, Santos was tried to pretend, and but I'm not sure that he's the biggest nutcase in the group.
Yeah, I don't know if he's
a Jewish.
I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't know if he's a QAnon enthusiast, so I think you're probably right. He may not be the craziest in the bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is scary times in D.C. Now, what did you think about the Kirsten over there, who is never going to get elected? Decided she'd never get elected as a Democrat again, switching to an independent. Did that come up for any conversations in your show? Or do you have any thoughts about her, quote unquote, defection?
Yeah, so Kirsten Sinema, well, in one sense, I mean, I'm an independent, and I loathe our two-party system. So having more independents, anytime someone leaves a party to become an independent, there's a part of me that likes that. The problem is, in her case, is it doesn't have anything to do with her having some sort of ideological awakening or anything like that. I think it's completely disingenuous. She simply has done this for career purposes. She knows that in her next election, she was going to get primaried from the left because progressive Democrats in Arizona are unhappy with her. So her best shot at winning re-election is to become an independent and not have to worry about a primary. And she appeals to enough Democrats still and enough Republicans that as an independent, she'll most likely be able to, or at least is more likely to win another term. But she was probably going to get primaried right out of that seat. So that's why she had to switch to independent. And that's clearly the only reason. I don't trust her. I've never found her to be trustworthy. There's some things about her that, I've seen the video of her just ignoring, actually multiple videos of her just ignoring constituents who are trying to have dialogue with her because she doesn't want to be bothered. So I don't trust her, and I don't think she's acting in good faith at all. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of where I took it, because I wasn't independent until Trump.
Yeah.
Then I squidgied into the Democrats. But we'll be back to find out what else have you been talking about on the Matt Connarton Show about what's going on in the world.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
If I could be you.
And you could be me?
For just 1 hour.
If you could find a way
to get inside
each other's mind.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
We've all felt left out. And for some, that feeling lasts more than a moment. We can change that. Learn how at belongingbeginswithus.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Walk a mile in my shoes.
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes. I'm here with Matt Connarton from Matt Connarton Unleashed. You can get your daily dose of Matt right up there with a cup of coffee from 4 to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. No Matt on the weekends on WMNH. If you are in the Manchester, New Hampshire area, that's 95.4 FM. No, FM, yeah. And if you want, you can go to mattconnerton.com and you can listen and interact with him via computer. So he talks about everything worth talking about and a bunch of stuff not worth talking about because he has 2 hours a day, 5 days a week to fill. And we're talking politics. And there's nothing ever really that interesting going on in politics. Is there, Matt?
There's usually a thing or two. By the way, I actually am on, you can hear me on the weekend on WMNH on Saturday mornings. Every Saturday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. is a best of episode that airs. And yeah, and you can, so you can, if you're in Manchester, of course, you can listen on 95.3 FM Saturday mornings, 9 to 11 a.m. And of course, you can stream it at, just go to mattconnerton.com. Also, I'll just mention briefly, Dr. Kevin, we have some merch available at mattconnerton.com. We're taking pre-orders on a new run of Matt Connarton Unleashed T-shirts and tank tops and hoodies. Those are going to be available in February, but we're taking pre-orders on them right now at mattconnerton.com.
But I want to know where I can get my Matt Connarton uncircumcised jockstrap.
That will not be available until 2024.
Oh, okay. Just
we had some, but they're back ordered because they were such a popular item.
There are so many things I could say about them being back ordered, but I won't, Matt. So
especially in the winter, people wear them as hats.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I can see that. I don't see how they keep the ears warm, though.
Oh, you'd be amazed.
Yeah. Yep. I can see that your imagination is getting away with you. That cup is just not that big.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay. What else has been going on in politics that you've been discussing that you think maybe people are not paying enough attention to? You're usually good at ferreting out the stuff that they're like, when this is going on over here, people are missing this and they need to pay attention. Any of those things show up the last month, 2 months since we've talked?
Oh, boy. Yeah, well, there was something that showed up. Actually, I think it was Tuesday. Yeah, I think it must have been Tuesday. This week has been largely consumed by the speaker's race. And, of course, last week we were off for the break. So it was all best of episodes all week. We were off for the holiday break as we are every year from Christmas to New Year's. But there was something, as we watch the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, I take great joy, much as I take joy in the public humiliation of Kevin McCarthy. I also take great joy in the humiliation of Vladimir Putin and Russia and the Russian military. And there was a story about, and it kind of ties into, something that we do discuss on my show from time to time is social media and how it has changed the way that people communicate and how they consume content and consume news and discuss politics and so on and so forth, and some of the positives and negatives around it. And for some Russian soldiers, there was a negative consequence of social media. There was this, there have been a few different stories, but there was this, just the other day, this Russian soldier who he was posting selfies and other pictures on whatever the Russian equivalent of Facebook is. I forget what it's called. And he left the geolocation on. So by him doing some social media postings from the front lines of the war, he unwittingly gave away his location and is now dead. And I thought that was hilarious. Not that I generally take joy in people dying violently, but it was a Russian soldier who apparently made a pretty severe error. So that's funny. And so that was an interesting story. In the United States military, apparently they tell everybody, hey, don't be using your cell phones and giving away your position if you are on a mission or conducting an operation of sorts. But someone's been forgetting to tell the Russian soldiers this, and there have been a few instances now where they've given themselves away with their phones, and then they end up getting blown up. It's really Darwin, if you think about it. But so that's kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, and those numbers keep changing somewhat. I think the last one I saw was like 83 people died in them blowing up the ammunition dump, and the fact that they had all those soldiers housed beside all of this blow up stuff.
Yeah,
like not the brightest choice in the world.
No, it's quite the incompetent military that they have. Not exactly, they don't meet the standards of readiness, as we say in the United States. Readiness is important.
Well, in their case, it's a readiness to die for a cause that's not theirs, to try to feed the ego of a megalomaniac who is looking really foolish these days.
Yeah.
So you had some pretty strong ideas about the Ukraine war over our conversations in 2022. Where are things standing now? Do you still think that this thing could go on for decades or not?
I don't know about decades, but I do think it's going to continue to grind on. I just don't see an off-ramp here. I don't know how they get out of this. Zelensky has made it clear that Ukraine will not accept any kind of a deal that is anything less than Russia getting out of Ukraine entirely, and that includes Crimea, getting out of there too. So in other words, returning to pre-2014 borders. And Putin's not going to take that deal because in that scenario, obviously Putin wants to save face. So in that scenario of returning to pre-2014 borders, Russia will have actually lost something. Not only will they have not been successful in their takeover of Ukraine, they will have actually lost territory by giving up Crimea. So I don't know what the solution is. So I do think it's going to grind on. I really do.
The only solution that I can see, and it would be a very politically efficient thing to do, would be if Putin dies, that the people that step into it blame the whole mess on Putin, get the hell out, because I mean Russia is having, you know, more uprising among its people than it's had in decades. I mean, they're not happy there, and they're not buying. From what I'm seeing, there are fewer and fewer people in Russia buying the idea that this is a Russian war, that this is a war Russia should be fighting. So if Putin dies, whoever takes over says, you know, unfortunately, Putin, blah, 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 led us into this and was not of right mind or whatever, and completely sweep it out and get the hell out of Ukraine.
Right.
I mean, Ukraine's just getting more support, more armament, more things to work with, and are clearly better military strategists and soldiers than the Russians are.
Yeah.
The Russians look like they're doing a Three Stooges episode. I mean, really. I mean, you would expect Larry, Curly, and Moe to be running around with some of the stuff.
Well, the Russian military too. I mean, you know, a lot of them are don't want to be there. A lot of them were lied to. Whereas the Ukrainians, I mean, they're actually fighting for something. You know, they're fighting for their country. The Russian military, I'm sure a lot of them have no idea what this is for, what it's about, what they're fighting for, and their hearts aren't in it. And I think Putin drastically underestimated the hearts of the Ukrainians and their military.
Yep.
I mean, the only worry. I was just going to say the only worry if something does happen to Putin, you know, whoever steps in, will they be more reasonable and just blame it on Putin and right the ship, or will they double down in some way? Will they say, well, Putin wasn't tough enough, he wasn't willing to do enough, he wasn't willing to use a tactical nuke, for example, you know, so now I'm here, I'm in charge, I'm going to get this done. You know, we don't know exactly who it would be who would be stepping into the breach, unfortunately.
Well, I saw that there was another accidentally fell out of the window oligarch in some other country that they were vacationing in last week. Somebody who made the mistake a few months ago of criticizing the war effort and then went to vacation somewhere and they fell out of a third story or something window to their death accidentally.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Can't be can't be clumsy when you're near a window.
Yeah.
Or a balcony or whatever. Yeah.
So we have a retiring senator, Democrat in Michigan, who's not going to run again. I'm sure you saw that.
No, actually, I'm not sure. I'm not sure who that is.
Debbie Stars. Debbie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Debbie Stabenow, I think is how you say it.
Yeah.
Oh, Stabenow. That's what it is. Stabenow. Yes.
Yeah. So
yep, she is retiring.
Yep, there's a lot of conversation about who's going to take that. They threw out a few rep names, stuff like this. But, of course, former mayor, now cabinet member Pete makes his home in Michigan.
Oh, I didn't know that. He left Indiana?
Oh, yeah. Him and
I didn't realize
bought
that.
A house. Yep, bought a house in Michigan. Are Michigan residents now. which is where Chasten was from originally. So they moved to be closer to Chasten's family to help with the kids. All perfectly legitimate things that people do. The head of the GOP Republican Party for Michigan made some snipey remark about Michigan's not a place for girly men or something about his move. It was some obnoxious comment. And of course, if there's somebody who can put people in their place, it's Pete Buttigieg.
Oh yeah.
He just snapped back. I can't even remember what the snapback was because this was like probably 2 months ago, but he completely eviscerated the comment, and just kind of hoped that this person's children got brought up with better manners than she had.
Yeah. Excellent.
Matt, I will talk to you in a month where we will be checking off the 443rd round of voting for the Speaker of the House.
We'll see. All right, Dr. Kevin, thank you.
Have a good month.
All right, bye-bye.